I had this surreal moment of fear. How could I be so ignorant to not know that this was my body down there? This is my body I'd been watching for, over an hour. And it sent me into a spiral of dark energy. And while I was in that spiral of dark energy, I started to see every negative thing I ever did in my life. Hi, I'm Vinney Tolman. I'm here to talk about my death. In 2003, I was found post-mortem or passed away in a Dairy Queen bathroom. I was later, a few minutes later, revived by a rookie medic. And this rookie medic, who I did meet with after the fact, said that he felt something in him tell him that this body wasn't all the way gone. But he broke protocol. He got the heart to start again, even though from pronouncement of death and the starting of the heart was exactly 47 minutes. This man, he put his job on the line to follow that intuition. And I'm very grateful he did, because I'm here to tell you this experience. I didn't know I was dead. I was watching it from above. And as I watched, I thought I was watching some kind of movie or some kind of entertainment. I didn't think I was watching me. It wasn't until they came upon a hospital to transfer the body from the ambulance into the hospital, to have a trauma team there. It wasn't until then that I realized that what I had been watching was me. And the moment I saw that there was some kind of connection between me and this body, I had this surreal moment of fear. How could I be so ignorant to not know that this was my body down there? This is my body I'd been watching for, over an hour. And it sent me into a spiral of dark energy. And while I was in that spiral of dark energy, I started to see every negative thing I ever did in my life. I saw it from the perspective of me doing the things, but also from the perspective of anyone that was the recipient of my bad behavior. So I was able to see anything bad I ever did from both sides of every situation. And as I got through that, I asked myself, if this is all that I am, why do I even exist? And as soon as I had that thought, I started to feel this warming come over me. And then I started to see everything good that I ever did in my life. Everything. From the simplest to the greatest. I saw every little thing that I did good and in service of others. And I felt a redemptive energy to what was going on. And I felt the tremendous power of this love just overcoming me. And I could feel that it was coming from behind me. So I turned away from the body. I turned away from all that I'd been watching. And I turned to see this man all dressed in white. He had kind of a robe thing on, but he also had a suit. But it was all white. He had a beautiful white hair, long white hair. He had pristine eyes. His eyes, when they looked at me, they felt like they were giving me a hug. And my first thought was, this must be God. And as soon as I thought that thought, I heard in this man's voice, in my own mind, I heard, "No, son, I'm not God." And my follow-up was, it must be Jesus then. And And he responded, "No, son, I'm not Jesus." And he explained, his name is Drake. He was there to be my guide. He was there to help me go wherever I wanted to go. I could go back to my body. He could help me get back into my body. Or he could help me go wherever I wanted to go. And when that option was put before me, I kept thinking about this tremendous love I was feeling from him. And I knew for a fact that's what I wanted. I didn't want to go back to my body. I wanted to go towards this love that I was feeling coming from him. So I asked him, where is this love? Where's this power that's coming through you coming from? And he explained that it was coming from my home, from his home, from our combined home. And so I told him, that's where I want to go. I want to go home. And he explained that this journey of going home, it was not going to be the easiest thing, but it would be well worth the journey, well worth the progress of going on this journey. And so he began to take me on this journey, take me one step at a time towards our home. The hard part about it is I thought, being raised Christian, I thought for sure I had some kind of special pass to get into heaven, or what I was calling home. And he explained to me that was beautiful. He loved that I felt that, but I needed to understand a little bit more about my life and why I was on earth before I could make my way all the way home. But the first thing he went over with me is why I was in this position, and that I needed to learn how to find out who I really was before I could truly start my journey. And he highlighted the energy of authenticity, that being authentic is where we are able to grow. It's also where we're able to receive love. It's where we're actually able to give love. So he taught me that authenticity is paramount for us. It's a prerequisite for us to be able to move into our home space. And so he showed me what authenticity was. He showed me that I had many different faces that I wore. For my friends, for my coworkers, for my family. And he showed me that I can take those masks away, and underneath all those masks, there's one unified being that is me. And that I needed to know who that was before I could go home. So he helped me see it. He helped me know who I really am. The next thing he taught me is why I was even on Earth. He referred to Earth as a school, the proverbial classroom, not the courtroom. And I had been raised thinking that life on Earth was a courtroom. It's where we came to be tested, we came to be judged, we came to be sorted, good or bad. But he showed me that the testing had been done long before I got to Earth, and that I had earned my journey to Earth. And Earth was a school that I could go to express the power of creation, the power of thought, the power of love. And that was a big eye-opener for me. Growing up in church, I didn't experience that. I didn't experience that version of possibilities on Earth and life here. Next, he took me forward into the next step for me, which was that I needed to learn how to love everyone. Everyone. I needed to learn how to love everything, love everyone, because all things on Earth are pieces of our Creator. And that's when Drake taught me about listening to my inner voice, that all of us have an inner voice. All of us have a direct connection to Source. And that life sometimes gets so busy, it's blocking that voice inside of us. But if we go within, we can access that voice. And there is a voice, a still, small voice, a quiet voice, a calm voice inside of us that is our source, that is our creator. And that's a fundamental part of why we're here on earth. As part of the journey is to learn how to turn to the voice, listen to the voice, and embody the voice in a loving way. And that's when I was shown by my guide that in the future, that technology was going to be a hurdle for all of us. That there are people that they are staring at their technology as they fall asleep. They wake up and grab their technology first thing. Technology is their prayer. Drake, he got me to the next principle, which this one was different for me. He said that I needed to release all prejudice for me to go into our home. And the hard part about this is I didn't think I had any prejudice. I was raised in a home where we had 2 races in our home. And I thought for sure that there was no prejudice, but yet here I was. But I trusted that there was a purpose to it. I could feel just divine purpose to it completely. And that's when Drake showed me that there is purpose in evil. That if you take away the possibility of evil, you take away the possibility of making choices. And that for us to have the ability to choose, there has to be the option for evil as one of those choices. But for every one of us that chooses evil, there are many thousands that choose good. And that got me to the last principle that Drake taught me. He taught me that we are all one. He showed me the principle of the hand. That we are all one. We're all many fingers on the Creator's hand. That as we embody this knowledge, that if we hurt or harm another, we are only hurting and harming ourselves. And at that point, I noticed that in our progress, we had made it to a place, a sacred place. And in this sacred place, I was far off, but I could see beautiful mountains. I could see trees. I could see a little lake, a little stream. And we got closer and closer to a point where my feet actually touched down in the grass. And when my feet came down and interlaced with the grass, I felt as if I found my true and everlasting home. I found the place I had always yearned to go without even remembering that I was from there. I felt the consciousness of every single blade of grass. I felt the tremendous love that I was receiving from every blade of grass. The grass itself, it had vibrations coming off of it, like oscillations. It had colors emitting off of the grass itself. And that's when I actually noticed for the first time that everything in this space there, in the space of our home, everything there is light within it. That light is not some outside external force, it's an internal force in all things there, in all of creation, including myself. I looked down and I noticed that I was light. I wasn't as bright as that grass. But that's when I realized that there was this supreme loving consciousness woven together with all of this grass. And absolutely loved me. And, I grew up in a pretty rough upbringing. I didn't feel like I deserved that kind of love. And that's when I had a realization that none of us could deserve it. It's being given to us because we are creations of the Creator. We are the artwork of the hand that paints it all. We are precious and divine masterworks in the Creator's eyes. And that's why so much love was being poured upon me. As I'm sitting there kind of freaking out about the grass, Drake is just sitting there smiling and just completely enjoying this. And he goes, Vinney, if you like the grass, you should check out the flowers. And I freaked out. Drake helps my consciousness go and be on a flower, like on the petals of a flower. And I was running around like a little child on this flower. Everywhere I stepped on it, the flower would change its color and its petals. And again, it was source. It was source light coming from the flower itself. There was colors of lavender and pink and purple and just millions of shades that we don't have here, both in the grass and the flowers. And that's when I hear Drake say, Vinney, you should check out the trees. And again, I flipped. I was so over the top crazy about all of this because I didn't know there was a possibility for so much love in anything, let alone the universe. So then I started moving my consciousness over to the trees and seeing this ancient wisdom in the trees and seeing how if you talk to one tree, you're talking to all the trees and how they work almost in a unified body or a quantum fabric per se. But I was really excited about those trees when I felt this touch down on my toe. And I looked down and I saw water. I saw this little creek of water. It had come up out of the creek and it approached my feet and touched my toe. And as soon as it touched my toe, I heard the question, do you want us on you? And I said, yes, absolutely. I said, come on, bring it on, The water came up over my feet, came up my legs. It encapsulated my entire body. And when it had completed its encapsulation up around my head, I felt this pulse of energy, this huge pulse of energy. And what that pulse was doing is it was permeating my entire soul structure. And it was patching up all the little broken areas that I had taken on from my earth life. I felt as if when that completed itself, I knew what the earth was doing when they would do baptism. I felt baptized by the love of heaven with this water. And not just cleansed, but healed, purified. And as soon as that was done, then I noticed a building. And for some reason, the building had not grasped my attention yet until the water had done its purpose. Then I could see the building very clear. And I could see this huge, beautiful building. And being a craftsman myself, I noticed this entire building was built out of one piece of marble. And that the marble was living. You could see flowing, liquid, pearlescent, opalescent colors flowing livingly through the building itself. The walls glowed, everything in the building glowed. And I noticed that people were approaching certain rooms and they were able to get into each room, but not because there was a door. They would match the frequency of the room and then an opening would form, they would enter, and then like liquid, it would just seal itself back over. And if somebody tried to get into the room without matching that same energy, they couldn't. They couldn't synchronize. They had to synchronize their oscillations or their frequency to get in. And I was just so excited, over the top excited to be in this place. I've always loved learning. And I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I wanted to go to this place. I could feel it was a school. But a school of true eternal knowledge. Not the knowledge we get on earth. Not the stories. The his story or the her story we get on earth. And I was infatuated with this idea that I could go and learn the mysteries, all the mysteries I knew about. And it was then that I felt Drake come around to me. He put his arm around me and he looked at me square in the eyes and said, "Vinney, this is going to be very hard. It's going to be really hard, but it's going to be worth it." And he brought me in for a hug. And as we hugged, our two souls, in a beautiful, loving, respectful way, they unified for a second. And when they did, it felt like God came out of both of us. It felt like our Creator pulsed off of the two of us. And I could feel that this similar energy was in everything in heaven. That there is God, our Creator, in the grass, in the flowers, in the trees, in the waters, the living waters, even in the building. But every being in that space was a beautiful container of Source or Creator or God. And as I'm sitting there hugging Drake, I start to hear in my ear, I hear a prayer being given to my body. What I didn't know is my body had been in a hospital. Since they had revived the body, it was brain dead for 3 days. And this was the third night that it had been brain dead. And my brother, here on earth, was giving a special prayer over my body. He commanded that my body be made whole and that my soul would return to my body. And with that prayer, there was so much love in the prayer. It felt as if it took away my choice to stay. I wanted to stay. It felt as if it took it from me, but in a loving way, in a divine path, synchronistic way, a kismet way. My choice was overruled, and I was brought back to my body. The prayer, it was given to my body around 10 p.m. at night. I woke up at 1:11 in the morning. I woke up completely claustrophobic. I pulled everything off of me. I couldn't even have the hospital gown on me. I was sitting there frantic, trying to see what else I could take off me as I stood there naked in this hospital room. And then I realized I was naked. And so I did grab a hospital gown that I found in the cupboard, wrapped it around myself, and I decided I was going to leave. I was going to go home. I didn't necessarily know which home I was going towards, but I just wanted to go home. So I tried to escape. I tried to leave on the elevator. And these two nurses, they had the surprise of their life, you know, a body they thought was in a coma and essentially brain dead. It had woken up, and it sure excited both of them. But they did convince me to stay. I stayed in that hospital until about 7 a.m. doing every test they could think of. And nothing showed that I needed to stay. They were recommending I stay for at least another 24 hours to observe, but I didn't want that. I wanted to go home. So I checked myself out at 7:30 in the morning, and that's the end of my death experience, my rebirth experience. But it's not it still was just the beginning of my experience. And in that process, I met my angel. I met my Andrea. She was the first person that I met that reminded me of heaven. It was only about 6 months after I had had my hospital experience. I was with Andrea. We were in this little town in Wyoming, and I was watching a historical presentation about the history of the town of Afton, Wyoming. Up on this big movie screen comes a picture of Drake. But the part that was hard for me is it didn't say his name was Drake, it said it was Charles. But as soon as I saw him, as soon as Andrea pointed him out to me, but as soon as I saw him, I knew that was my guy. I went directly to my grandmother's house. He had the same last name as my grandmother's maiden name. So I went to her house and I said, Grandma, tell me about this Charles Kazare. Tell me about him. Who is he? What is he? And her response was, oh, you mean Great-Grandpa Drake. And that was my first very solid confirmation of what I had experienced was a very real thing. It was not something that I could have made up in my mind. It was not some hallucination like one of my doctors tried to tell me. It was a legitimate, real experience, at least for me. Because here is a man I couldn't have known. He was my great-great-great-grandfather on my grandmother's side. I had never heard his name. I had never seen his face in my life. And here I could describe to you what it's like to shake his hand, what it's like to hug him, what it's like to talk to him, even just using your mind. And I had this very strong personal connection to him now, which it had not stopped. Even after coming back and waking up, I was still connected to him, talking to him internally. And since then, I've had many thousands of experiences like that, where Spirit has helped me know something, I take action on it, and good is the benefit, or good is the outcome. And that completely changed my life. I went from a very self-centered, egotistical, career-centered life to a life where my goal every day is to be a steward of that light that I saw in heaven, that light that I experienced, that I internalized in heaven, that love that is inside that light. My daily goal is to hold that love for others, for myself, for anyone that I can share heartbeats with. And that's my experience.